All right, welcome to We Are Soccer. Today I've got Tom Faro, the Executive Director of the Michigan State Youth Soccer Association with us. Tom, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being with us, man.
Thanks, Craig. I'm glad to be here.
Cool. All right, let's jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about the Michigan State Youth Soccer Association and the role it plays within soccer in the state?
All right, so I'm the executive director for the Michigan State Youth Soccer Association. Our acronym is MSYSA. So MSYSA is the state governing body for youth soccer in Michigan. Our membership exceeds 90,000 players. We have about 11,000 team officials. There are probably 2,000 or more referees affiliated through our sport. And we are a member of U.S. Youth Soccer and U.S. Soccer. And on the national stage, there are about 3 million players that play youth soccer. So we're the state governing body, bunch of clubs and leagues, Parks and Recs, YMCAs. A lot of them affiliate through us.
So almost any soccer league within the state of Michigan has to be affiliated, almost all of them, right? Have to be affiliated with you guys and run through. I don't know how that works. And I've played soccer for years.
Yeah, a lot of them are affiliated with MSYSA. I mean, we do have a few competitors in the state, but many are affiliated through MSYSA.
I mean, you just named 90,000 players and coaches and teams and referees. So you're over 100,000 people who are kind of associated with you guys. And I know growing up, I was as well. So I'll be honest, Tom, you and I met, man, it must've been going on 20 years ago now. And I've known you as a coach. I've known you as a referee. I've known you as a manager of a sports and soccer facility. So this executive director role, I couldn't think of anybody better because you've done it all in the state of soccer. And one thing I will say is you have a passion for the state of, for soccer. So it's great to see you in a role and pushing the sport forward in the state. It's really good to see.
I appreciate that. You're right. I've kind of come up through the ranks. I was involved, as a coach in Farmington and Livonia. I was a club president, a league president. I've been in this role for in excess of 22 years. So I can say without question, this has been definitely the most challenging.
Right. This year particularly, right? I mean, with the pandemic and then the governor shutting everything down and Michigan's governor. And I don't want to get too much into the politics. I want to talk more about the soccer, but I think if we could chat about how hard it's been for you guys this year and getting back to playing and some of the protocols you've put in place to help that. Can you kind of chat about that with us for a few minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everything with COVID for us started in March of last year. And in short, back in March of 2020, there was a lot of fear. I think there were a lot of folks that felt like this was only going to last a few weeks. I can say that we didn't get a lot of help in the beginning from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So there were a lot of executive orders, for good or for bad. There were a lot of executive orders, and our association followed them. There was a shutdown of spring soccer. There was a shutdown of summer soccer. We also canceled in-person travel tryouts. We canceled our Olympic development program. In short, there were a lot of kids that weren't able to play soccer. We were not popular for decisions that had to be made in an effort to keep people safe.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And then you guys don't do too much through indoor, but coming back this year, some pieces that were put in place were the facial coverings, and then more recently the testing. And how has that been going? Have you been getting a lot of kickback on that stuff? I obviously play, and I know how it is. So, it's just part of the gig of playing at the moment. So, you guys gotten a lot of kickback?
Yeah, I would, obviously, so we were able to come back in the fall. It was, a bit abbreviated. But there was the mandate for the use of facial coverings, met with a lot of resistance. There's a lot of folks that don't agree with that. At the end of the day, our association isn't focused on whether or not you agree with it or not. Our association is focused on trying to get these kids back to play soccer. And so one of the things that the governor's team and the Department of Health put in place is the fact that you have to wear facial coverings. It's required. There are no exemptions. If you can't wear a facial covering at this time, you're not to participate. And no doubt that has been a very divisive issue. In terms of the weekly testing, that is something that was just rolled out a couple of weeks ago. That has been a real challenge as well. And the reason that's been a challenge is we don't have the same infrastructure. Club soccer across Michigan just doesn't have the same infrastructure that high school sports, for example, has. With high school sports, they've got buildings, they've got athletic directors, they've got trainers, nurses in some cases. Being able to get tested at a high school is a lot easier than having to find a location in club sports to get tested. Now, a lot of the schools have been really helpful because they're already testing, but in some cases, it has been a challenge for people to get athletes tested. The other thing that did happen, at least in a positive way, is that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is allowing our affiliated clubs or leagues to conduct testing on their own, rapid testing on their own, and they're not being charged for those rapid tests.
So that's a little bit of good news, right? There's a little bit, and then more recently, I think it was a week ago now, or a little bit more than a week ago, the governor came out again and recommended there was a pause on sports. Can you tell us what happened when that came out and how you guys reacted and the message that was sent out?
Yeah, so the governor's team, the governor came out, her and her team came out, and right now COVID numbers aren't great. There's a lot of hospitalizations. To be honest with you, I was surprised personally that it was a request for a 2-week pause. Having gone through this for the past year plus, I think I kind of anticipated that there'd be a shutdown. Yeah. And so we've been doing our very best to communicate how important it is to follow our guidelines, how important it is to follow the risk mitigation strategies so that kids can play soccer. So you're correct. The governor did come out and ask sports to take a look at and consider whether or not we wanted to move forward over the next 2 weeks. The hope, obviously, is that by taking a temporary pause, that case numbers would decline. So unlike other organizations, we didn't come out within seconds or within minutes and say that we're going to move forward. We actually took some time. We work with a team at the University of Michigan School of Public Health. And we took a look at our existing guidelines, and we determined that because our sport is predominantly played outdoors, we believe that our members are doing a great job with our guidelines. We believe that they are following, in large part, the mitigation strategies. And so in consultation with our team at the University of Michigan School of Public Health, we decided on Tuesday of this week to not have a statewide pause for youth soccer and to allow our clubs and leagues to make those decisions locally based on the conditions in their area of the state.
Okay, well, I mean, that's great to hear. One, I like to hear the fact that you didn't just come out right away. You took some time, you consulted with some, we'll say, medical professionals, right? And you gathered as much knowledge as you could, then you made an informed decision. And a 3 or 4 day wait to do that, I think is probably best, to meet with all those people and get it right. So that's great to see.
Yeah, we take a lot of pride. I don't think people realize the enormity of what we have been faced with. We take a lot of pride in what we've been able to do to keep kids safe. Whether we agree or disagree with the governor or the health department, we take a lot of pride in what we have put together in terms of our guidelines, in terms of what we recommend, in terms of mitigation strategies. And I think we've done a really good job at trying to keep people safe. And it's important, personally, just because I have 2 kids that play soccer. And without question, this year has been really tough on kids, with school, going to school, not going to school. Just this whole year has just been a real challenge for kids as well as parents, obviously. And as a parent, I can say that I think it's really important that that there be this outlet for kids to be able to play and to be able to do it safely.
Agreed. I mean, yeah, it's been tough on everybody, right? But from a parent's perspective, I'm with you there. My kids were playing soccer, then it got shut down, and they got really bummed that their soccer got shut down. And I still play soccer, and I got bummed soccer shut down. So the fact that it's back now and it's getting better, it's great to see. We can only hope the numbers continue to go down here, and we can just all get back to playing normal, right? And we can get back to living life the way we were. But it has to be done slowly on a safe level. And that's your guys' goal from the conversations you and I have had, and that's you're trying to keep everybody's safety in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, Craig, very candidly, I think you know me pretty well. I'd be lying if I told you this year has been easy, and it has been filled with a lot of nastiness. But there's also been a lot of people who really appreciate our efforts, because without this concerted effort of our team, there'd be a lot of kids that wouldn't be playing soccer.
Right. Without that level of effort and without you guys doing this, kids wouldn't be playing soccer. I guarantee it. Absolutely, 100%. And again, as we've talked about, you're never going to make everybody happy, right? I mean, it's just impossible to make everybody happy. Some people are going to be upset about this or upset about that. So I have also taken a look at your, as you guys call them, the RTP, the return to play guidelines you put together. They looked very concise. They looked, I couldn't find anything wrong with them. I thought they were great. And you guys, again, you can see quality through that, professionalism through that, to keep everybody safe and playing. And that's the goal, to keep everybody safe and playing, right? So you guys, just from my perspective, have done a fantastic job at doing that stuff. So
well, I appreciate that. I think our team would appreciate that as well.
Well,
I would share that with them.
Please do. I want to be, like I said, hopefully we move forward and we can get to play, and everybody can get to play, and we can get back to the way the life was right before the pandemic. Is there anything you'd like to add before we kind of jump in and close this off? Is there anything you'd like to kind of say moving forward, or
yeah, I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you gave me the opportunity to be on. I think it's important that people recognize that there are a lot of people across the state, many that are volunteers, that are working really hard so that kids can play soccer. We have bi-weekly Zoom meetings with our affiliated clubs and leagues, and hundreds of people get on those calls. And that's an indication that people want kids to be able to play soccer. And so Um, as hard as that has been, as challenging as it has been, um, our focus at MSYSA is we're going to do whatever we need to do to get these kids back on the field, and we're going to try to do it as safely as possible. And I really don't have a lot of time for people that don't agree with the various mitigation strategies or our guidelines or the governor or the health department. We have a lot of kids that do want to play soccer. We have a lot of parents that want their kids to get that physical and social activity. And I just really want to say how appreciative I am of our clubs and leagues, because this isn't MSYSA doing this on our own. There is a lot that has been placed in a lot of folks' laps that did not expect that in any way, shape, or form. This, for example, the testing was certainly not greeted with a lot of enthusiasm. But after a few weeks of doing it, the number of complaints that we have received on it have dwindled significantly. And I can say this very candidly. I think that the complaints have dwindled a lot because as you look at the situation today, if you look at the numbers, if you look at hospitalizations, most people would say to themselves, we're pretty fortunate that there's not a shutdown.
Right.
So the reality is, whether people agree with it or not, the testing and the masking is what is keeping our sport going. And I mean, we get people that there's certainly people that have asked, what is MSYSA doing? Why isn't MSYSA fighting this? And to be honest with you, like for example, with the testing, the high school association, for example, they got 2 months to prepare for testing from December until February 8th. We were given less than 2 weeks. And so our focus at MSYSA was, let's get this information out as promptly and as quickly as possible. And if our efforts had been on something else, then again, in my opinion, there would have been a lost opportunity for kids to play soccer.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, I don't know how else to put it, but you guys have done a fantastic job. You're trying to keep the kids on the field. You're trying to keep everybody happy, and it's impossible to keep everybody happy, but you're doing the job. And yeah, it's you guys have been put between a rock and a hard place this year, and given no time, and very little help from any of the organizations, the health organizations. So tough place, but from what I can see, what I've read, you guys have done a fantastic job. So hopefully the pandemic, the numbers get a little lower, keep going lower here, and we can get the kids back on the field full time, and you guys can get back to doing what you do best instead of having to deal with a lot of this stuff every day. Because I don't envy you for the job you've had to have done for the last year. It's been exhausting, I can only imagine.
Yeah, no, it's I'll tell you personally, it has been rough at times, but we know a lot more today than we did a year ago. I'll share a personal story with you, and then I'll let you go. I've got a daughter that's in high school, freshman. She's on varsity at Milan High School.
Yeah.
And I was at her first game, and it was surreal because I consider what I do professionally and how hard we've been working over the past year, and to be able to sit in the stands and see my kid play. And she's got the facial covering on. She did the weekly testing, and all these parents had their facial coverings on. It can be done.
Right.
It can be done. And my kid got to play because everyone did their part. And so if everyone continues to do their part, there are going to be more stories like that.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, that's it. We just continue doing our part, and then at some point soon, we'll all be back to, the world will go back to normal. We'll be playing without facial coverings, but until then, just do your part and do what's needed, right? So, right.
Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Really appreciate it. And please keep doing what you're doing. I know you guys don't get a lot of thanks, but it is very much appreciated. So thank you very much. And hopefully we'll be talking again soon.
All right. Take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.